trouble brewing for the Pies and the Lions in the AFL. How did the Dragons fell back down to earth against the Dolphins in the NRL, and the AFL broke a record last weekend. Welcome to the BD Footy Wrap Up Part 2. Of course, obviously. Part 1 was all about the announcement of Tasmania, which that will come tomorrow. I know that time of recording this, we're already into round 2 for the AFL and round 3 of the NRL. But I'm still a bit behind, obviously, because of the whole Tasmania announcement. So obviously, a lot to. So apologies for that, but I will get up to date with this at some stage, because obviously I want to, do this more regularly in 2024 than I did in 2023. So the topics for this episode, which is part number 2 for this week, is obviously early season troubles for Brisbane and Collingwood in the AFL. In the AFL, Adelaide, can the Adelaide Crows' away record stack up in amongst the best in the competition if they want to play finals? In the NRL, did the Dragons get a massive reality check from the Dolphins? Of course, we're not going to talk about the NRL from last weekend without mentioning the insane try from Xavier Coates, and see where will that rank in terms of the greatest rugby league tries of all time here in Australia. That not just counting NRL, counting for Kangaroos, counting State of Origin, just where would that rank as well. A lot of injuries on both the AFL and the NRL front, and also suspensions as well, and as well as other news as well. Let's of course bounce the ball and start off with the AFL. Obviously, on both counts, of course, Brisbane and Collingwood. Well, of course, we all know grand finals in 2023. It also ended in triumphant circumstances for Collingwood, not so much for Brisbane. Starting in 2024, I should say, and they have lost their first two games. As I said, I'm not going to talk about as I'm recording this. There was already a game in round 2 for the AFL. I'm not going to mention anything about that. I will in the next episode, which will come out probably after this. So again, there'll be probably 2 episodes on the Monday. One to talk about, of course, this video. The other one will be talking about this weekend's matches. This one to talk about last weekend. But yeah, and there's a lot of troubles on the front. So let's start off with Collingwood, obviously. Reigning premiers, undoubtedly, even though I hate to say it with the deepest regret, because I hate Collingwood, but they were the best team in 2023. You can't deny it, even if you're a hater like me, or a lover of them, like most people in Melbourne were during September. They were the best team by far. Even when they had struggles in the latter half of the year, to be honest, the old saying is all teams do have those. Even good sides have those. In terms of Collingwood, but they hit form at the right time, and they did win the flag there. And then now suddenly this season's come along, and they are immediately on the back foot, and it was quite surprising, really, that about their performance against GWS in round 0, which I know should be opening round, but But I know the AFL came out saying, "Oh, it's opening round. Oh, you can't call it round 0." Shut up. It's round 0. Get used to it. So yeah, I can call it whatever I want. So as a fan, so yeah, round 0. It was a bit of a shock, really. Because and all the AFL journalists said they haven't seen Craig McRae that flustered in his time at Collingwood. So in the 2 years he's been in the job, he hasn't in the sidelines. He hasn't, as a coach, hasn't been that flustered, and now he has. And then obviously I thought instantly. I tipped Collingwood for the game against Sydney because, I actually tipped Sydney against Collingwood because I thought maybe I know that they said, they would fix their issues. I thought instantly, no, they haven't, and I was proven right on last Thursday night. On last Friday night, I was proven right. I mean, the stats show themselves. I mean, Sydney scored 78 points from intercept possessions. They scored 3 Joe DeGoose goals, which is, if you guys are not obviously fans of football, obviously if you guys don't know, if you guys are football fans, you don't know what Joe DeGoose goal is, then what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Which is basically running goals from goal square. And Sydney got 3 of them in this game. I mean the defense and the old saying is the old saying that it's been occurred in soccer, and you could use it in eligible football as well. The forward line wins you games. The back line wins you premierships, and that was probably one of the reasons why they won the flag last year, was because with the likes of Moore, Howe, Murphy, of course, who's out with concussion, as well as Maynard, of course, Braz Maynard, and a whole lot of others as well, Quainer as well. Can you say those names I mentioned that they are actually in their form that they were in 2023 right now in these first 2 games? Not really. Let's put it that way. You could, jury's out on Murphy because obviously he's still yet to be back from his concussion issues that were suffered in the grand final. So yeah, but the defense is all out of whack. It's all out of whack in my opinion. I mean, Darcy Moore, obviously, of course, being the skipper, obviously he needs to know that, and obviously he needs to know that Charlie Dean, who's playing his second game, he's not going to be a Nathan Murphy type player after 3 games. That's not going to happen. So obviously that was the reason why, was because you'd see Darcy Moore just fly in all sort of even in one-on-ones, that sort of stuff. Yeah, but he's not doing it. But he's not doing that. He's doing that more often, to be honest, because obviously Murphy being out, he's now the only show in that back line, to be honest. Sorry to Howe, Quainer and Maynard and that. He's the main show in the back line, to be honest, and he's suffering because of it. He's suffering because of it. I'm not saying that the others aren't standing up, but the defense is all out of whack, to be honest. Their forward line can't score, obviously. Their forward line can't score. The midfield is a bit. It's okay, but it's not great like they were last year. It's down to okay sort of thing, to be honest, in their midfield. But in both, on either sides of the field, their forwards and their forward line and their back line is out of whack. I mean, the only to be honest here, the only people that Collingwood can rely on for goal scoring is midgets, and I'm not joking. I'm not joking. They're relying on guys like Elliott, Schultz, and Bobby Dazzler, as we all like to call him, as I like to call him. Or more regularly, thanks BT, for that. They rely on them to score, and barring and if you say like Cameron, he's mostly ruck. Mason Cox has no influence on the game whatsoever. And my check so far is only played the one decent game this season. That's the opening round game against GWS. He kicked 4 goals. Other than that, and then he was non-competitive. I know he was on the likes of McCartan and that, but and it's a very and it's also a very decent backline is Sydney. But he just doesn't. He didn't compete against Sydney as well, and also it's frightening to know that obviously you got also speaking of that midfield, you got the likes of you got Pendlebury going in there, Mitchell going in there, the Dacos boys in there as well, Sidebottom, DeGoey, those types. You don't see them getting outplayed by these three in terms of Heaney, Goulden, and Warner, especially Warner. I mean, some of these stats here for them are just ridiculous. I mean, Heaney with 29 touches, 10 scoring involvement, 7 marks and 2 goals. Goulden not so much with 30 with the most out of the both of them with 30 touches, 11 scoring involvements and 8 marks. And then the stats for Chad Warner are absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting to witness. 27 touches, 11 scoring involvements, 7 clearances, 7 marks, and 3 goals to boot. And we all know what Chad Warner can do. We all know he's proven that over the last couple of years. He's proven that he can be an elite running midfielder. We all know that. To see that sort of dominance from those three in the midfield against the midfield, which had been probably for the last 12 months, had probably been the benchmark in terms of quality and depth. That's not a good sign. That is not a good sign at all in terms of their engine room, and for those guys to be totally outplayed by those three. Well, in terms of Heaney, obviously he's going there more because of Parker's broken arm. But for Goulden and Warner, who are regular midfielders, for them to be tearing them apart, and Chad Warner, like Kane Corns has said, he was toying with the Collingwood midfielders at times. He was absolutely toying with them at times, like being arrogant almost of like, oh. And he wasn't the only one that was doing this. He was not the only one. There was Campbell, there was McInerney, those type of guys that were saying, go on guys, tackle me, and they didn't tackle them. So it's danger signs really for Collingwood really, and moving on to Brisbane, it's not the same thing with either, because do Brisbane and Collingwood have the same issue, and that is, same issue, but not really, and that is their midfield. What I learned here is we'll get to the run on goals in a bit, but the one thing to point out here is one thing to point out here is the middle, the inside midfielders, and come to the conclusion that Brisbane are absolutely useless about Lachie Neale. I mean, he didn't play in this. Obviously, he's going to play this weekend. Obviously, he's got the bye this weekend, and then he'll play next week and play the week afterwards against Collingwood. But of course, the free, the centre, the ruck rover, and the rover situation. That's what I'm going to focus on, because obviously, of course, for Freo you had Fife. Of course, you had previously the best midfielder in the game in that Fife, and arguably one of, if not for some arguments, the best midfield duo in the game in Andy Brayshaw and Caleb Sarong, in the midfield, and with no Lachie Neale, what do they put out? They put Cam Rayner, Josh Dunkley, and Jared Lyons in there. Of course, Jared Lyons, who normally now features as a sub normally, but he was a starting midfielder here. And obviously, of course, Fife played on Rayner, and obviously. And of course, Fife won it. I mean, having 21 touches and 7 tackles compared to 14 from Rayner, really. And then you got Brayshaw against Lions. Lions only had 25 touches, albeit at an 80% disposal efficiency. And then Brayshaw with 32 touches, 8 marks, and 7 score involvements as well. And then we get to the undisputed, the unanimous victory that was Caleb Sarong in this one. I mean, having 46 touches, 7 tackles, and 10 clearances, compared to Dunkley with 26 touches, 9 marks, and 8 tackles. So yeah, but the one thing that sprung out to me looking at the player statistics was the disposal efficiency that was on offer. Now this has to be alarming for Brisbane fans to listen to, and here it is right now. So Fife and Rayner, here we go. Fife had 21 disposals, but at 57% disposal efficiency, which for me at least, that's not AFL standard. You can't be at 50% playing AFL footy if you're 57%. At 57%. While Rayner is only having 14 touches, starting in the midfield, and at 71% disposal efficiency. This is the big one here. Caleb Sarong, he had, as I said, 46 touches, but going at 80% disposal efficiency. That is outrageous. Mostly, probably, maybe short kicks to a teammate that's probably 15, 20 meters away, or handballs to someone that's literally right next to him. That's mostly, but yeah. And then obviously, Dunkley with 26 touches, going at 73%. So yeah. And then Brayshaw, he went at 32 touches, he went at 65%, and Jared Lyons 25 touches and going at 80%, which was, I believe, the best in all the Brisbane midfield in terms of disposal efficiency in this game. And so you've got a midfield in there in Fremantle who's going at 57%. Well, only one is going above 75%, 3/4 away to 100%. That being Sarong in 80%, and you can't basically and you let them basically destroy you. Like Fife had a better game than Rayner on the statistics wise. Sarong clearly, I won't be surprised if he with 46 touches and the game he played doesn't get the free Brownlow votes. The Brownlow medal is rigged. Let's put it that way. If he doesn't get the free Brownlow votes in this game, and then Brayshaw with 32 at 65%. It's pretty alarming for Brisbane really, and that, you know, Lachie Neale, it just proves that Brisbane midfield just cannot perform without Lachie Neale on the field. Let's put it that way. And another problem that they have is stopping a flow, which is pretty much conceding consecutive goals. They did that against Carlton, as we all know. I mean, they got out to a 46-point lead and they lost it by a point. Like how could they lose it from that position after conceding, you know, 7 goals in a row to Carlton? And then again, they got the jump in the first quarter, and they only scored like between the middle two quarters. They only kicked 1 goal. That was it. And while Fremantle, on the other hand, they just kept kicking goal after goal. That was that. And it was it really. And yeah, that is also, you know, alarming. Like we all, like their forward line is probably one of the best. It is one of the best in the competition. It's probably the best in the competition. I mean, you got the likes of Danaher, you got Hipwood, who I've waxed lyrical about for years. You got Charlie Cameron. You got the likes of Lincoln McCarthy in there too, reliable goal scorer there. I mean, the list goes on really, and this goes on really. And in terms of the defense, I'm gonna say it again. Fagan is a one trick pony when it comes to playing Harris Andrews at fullback. He needs to at least be flexible with him. I mean, put him at centre half back. Put him up the ground. The grand final proved it. I mean, Frampton had 2 touches. 2 freaking touches. And he nullified Harris Andrews. It was all the commentators had considered that the best grand final performance by a player who had only 2 touches for the whole game. Because basically, Craig McRae said, I don't care if you don't touch the ball at all, just nullify Harris Andrews, which he did. Which he did in terms of his influence on the game, which it worked. And it's proven that it's proven that keeping Harris Andrews at fullback is the main problem for Brisbane. I'm not saying that they should turn him into a swingman and maybe put him up forward. I don't say that, but put him up the ground. Put him up the ground. Maybe at some point, maybe put him at centre half back. And then maybe like at some point put him at fullback maybe when the game gets a bit tight, but don't keep him there for keeping the fullback position for 80 to 90% of the game. I mean, seriously, you need to because ultimately and we've always seen that time and time again. I mean, if you ask me who's the team I believe would rebound from their slump, Collingwood or Brisbane, I say Brisbane, because they've done this before. They've done this a couple of times where they lose their first 2 games and still finish top 4 in the last few years. I think they did that last year. No. I know they did it in 2021, where they lost their first 2 games and then they won after the siren, ironically, against Collingwood, and then ultimately got them in the top 4. I think last year that they lost their first 2 games as well. I need to check that. I think I might need to fact check that. I think they lost their first 2 games. I think let me just double Let me just double check. Let me just double check this. Let me just double check. No, they were 1-1. So yeah, but I know in 2021 they were 0-2 after two games they played, and they still made top four. So yeah, but Collingwood on the other hand, I think they're in deeper trouble than what we realise, to be honest. I think they're in deeper trouble, to be honest, and it's a lot more than just fixing. And I'm not saying the H word yet, but it's been talked about by a lot of people about the H word, and yeah. And even, Lee Matthews has said that they got ahead of themselves and they celebrated the Premiership a bit too long. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I agree about that. And what's the alarming part is after the press conference in Sydney, I thought to myself, yeah, for the first time probably in his Collingwood tenure, he's feeling the pressure. Because the first question was the big word, was the big word. I can't remember what it was called. I remember Rowan Connolly said this as the first question. In the word rude awakening, he said, and he got defensive. He got defensive about it. Anything that's something to do with that, he got defensive. And that's what, and I immediately went like that. When I was watching it, I watched the whole thing as well, and I was like, that's a bit strange. And it came, and afterwards I was like, he's under pressure. He is freaking under pressure. And it's more, and he's got more problems than what he's got bigger problems than what he's realized. To be honest, as Fly but as I said, So just to round this off, if there's any team that I would back to turn around their slump, it'll be more Brisbane than Collingwood, because I fear there's more problems than what people are landing on at the Collingwood Football Club, to be honest. On field wise, and in terms of their tactics as well. But yeah, so that probably is the end of that topic. We'll move on to the Adelaide Crows. It was despite the comeback late against the Gold Coast Suns, which I was surprised which surprising really that they would go 2-0 to be honest after two matches, albeit they were at home, and I believe that the big test will come this weekend on the weekend against the Western Bulldogs. But all the focus is shifting on Adelaide, and don't ignore the result. Don't see blinded by the rose in the glasses about the comeback and it got within a goal. They were poor for 2.5 quarters. They were poor. They didn't get used to the conditions. The Suns midfielders, including the big three and Rao, Anderson, and Miller, they adapted to the conditions very quickly, and they were blown off the park for 2.5 quarters, and then basically they caught wind in their sails in the last quarter, but it was too late. In the end of the day, or at the end of the night. And they got home. And the one thing that's under the spotlight is Adelaide's away record under Matthew Nicks. That is the big talking point. And they said pre-season that no excuses. Finals is the expectation for the Adelaide Crows. That's what that is been said inside the Adelaide Football Club. That's what's been said. And now, and obviously, judging through this, I mean, they have just over 43% winning percentage at the Adelaide Oval. So pretty good at the Adelaide Oval, especially in the last 12 months. But in the last 12 to 18 months. But their interstate record is a far different story. With only 21%. Away wins. To be a finals contending team, you need to perform away from home. You need to perform that. That's why GWS made the finals last year, because they had so many wins in the state, and with 8 wins from 38 interstate games under Matthew Nicks from when his tenure started in 2020, that is poor. That is poor, and they need to change that. If it's true they want to make finals this year, that record has to change. That record has to change. And looking at their list, they got scored capable of finals. I mean, you got Walker, Rankin, you got Keys in there. You got the most underrated backline in the league. I mean, you got the likes of Hinge, who I've praised. You got the likes of Smith. You got Laird. You got Dawson. Those type of guys. So they got the list that can challenge for the top 8 this year. And I put him in the top 8 in my predictions. Yet that away record is the one thing that people go, oh, I'm not so sure about this. So as I said, they need to sort out that away record. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same. Last year, 9th to 11th, even 12th. On that front. So that is pretty much that there. Moving on to the NRL, moving codes to the NRL. Let's talk about the St. George Illawarra Dragons, because they came off the round 1 with a massive high, not only beating but smashing the Gold Coast Titans in Des Hasler's Titans coaching debut, and it was great. It was right. Everything. We all thought, is this the start of something for the Dragons? And they're gonna be like the New Zealand Warriors from last year, finishing 1 year at the bottom, and then going up to the top 8 this year, which I thought would be the Warriors, but I don't care. I'm just rambling on here very, very fast, and then Sunday happened against the Dolphins, where they were involved in another thumping. This time they were on the receiving end of it. 38-0 to be exact against the Dolphins. Which was not good at all. Not good at all. A massive reality check for them. You got HTF getting a hat trick. You got Jermaine Isako doing Jermaine Isako things. Like at the end of the game, they even had the Dragons even got to play a bin, put in the bin for 10 minutes for the rest of the game in the 76th minute in Francis Molo. That just rubs salt into the salt that's already in the wounds. That is Not good at all. And to make matters worse, I mean, they only trailed 10-0 at half time, and yet they scored and they conceded 28 points in the second half. That is just unbelievable, really. And I mean, in this game they had the very bad double of not starting well. Obviously, we've conceding 2 tries in the first 10 minutes, and then not rounding out the game well in the second half. We've conceding 5 tries to 0. So yeah, but the one thing that came into mind here, and I'm going to read this out. Really, what they said was the Dragons coach Shane Flanagan in his post-match presser talking about this. This is what he said. This is what he said. I'm reading this from the NRL website, by the way. So if I over here, I'm talking my laptop over here. This is what he said. He said it was a complete opposite to let me move this. Let me actually move this over here so I can actually So yeah. It was a complete opposite to what we had last week when we had energy and commitment, and today we had none of that. We've still got some work to do, and really disappointed that we've gone backwards, but we'll shake it all off and go again. Today's performance wasn't good enough for the Dragons jersey, and we're clear that we're not happy about it. You can't have it 1 week and not the next week. Judging by that was his words. Judging by those, he's feeling the reality check. he absolutely felt it. Did Shane Flanagan on this occasion? I mean, going from the high and actually smashing the Titans on their home, which was it basically the home turf? Was it? I think it was their home turf. I believe. Yeah, smashing the Titans on their home turf, and then you go to the Dolphins, and then you go straight down the road to obviously the Redcliffe to face the Dolphins, and you basically get involved in the same game, albeit you're on the receiving end of it. So yeah, so not good there at all, to be honest. On that front, and especially of course you got the Cowboys who got off to a good start in their first home game of the year. So this is their thing, and this is their next month. This is their next month. You got after this, you got this weekend they got Manly Sea Eagles, obviously. This weekend against the Cowboys, in their first home game of the year at Netro Jubilee Stadium. Then they go to Wollongong for a game against Manly. Then they go away to again on Friday night against the Knights. Then the West Tigers. They got the West Tigers away. You got the Warriors at home, and then the Sydney Roosters at home at Allianz Stadium. So yeah, and I don't know, and for some reason they got 1, 2 in that month. They got 1, 2, 3 primetime games for a team that some have predicted to be on the bottom, which I don't see why. I don't know why they would have in amongst so many primetime games. Like maybe they got a lot of freaking maybe they got a lot of freaking fans that don't have freaking pay TV, that don't have KO, that don't have Foxtel, so that's why probably, yeah. But also to be fair, I mean, the first 4 games, the first 4 games are all basically games that's basically only on Foxtel and KO. So that's that on that front. But that's going to be a tough couple of months. I mean, you got the Cowboys who started the season like a house on fire. You got the Manly Sea Eagles who at their best also can smash them as well. You got the Knights. The Knights, we all know how good they can play at home. The West Tigers, I think they can win that one. I think that's just going to be. It's going to be a game to forget, really, to be honest. On that front, you got the Warriors who I think they're going okay. I think they're going okay. They're going better than what they, even though they lost their first 2 games. I think they're going better than what they thought. I think they had the game won against Melbourne, and also they performed not too bad. It's just that the Sharks in round 1 had the desire and got the 4 points at the end of the day. And also the Roosters as well, they've also started the set except for round 2. But they started the season, of course, in a blaze of glory, obviously in Vegas. So it's still going to be pretty tough for the Dragons, really. But I can see them perhaps. I think the Cowboys, they'll lose that one. I think the only win I would give them so far is the West Tigers. To be honest, that's the only win I'll give them, really. But yeah, then of course we can't move on from the NRL without mentioning the absolutely ridiculous try that was scored in the last 30 seconds of the Storm Warriors game by one ex-Coates. I mean, which some have considered for it to be the best try in NRL history. But I want to go further than that. I want to go further than that. Where does it rank in amongst the best tries to be scored in rugby league history in Australia? Not just with NRL, but also with like State of Origin. Like in terms of State of Origin, the Kangaroos games as well. Those type of games. And some, I mean, like, I mean, just to mention these 3, just a bit of a handful here of what I mean, the famous Mark Coyne try, the match-winning try in 1994, Game 1, 1994, where Queensland went from one end of the ground to the other, and Ray Warren's perfect commentary of, Queensland, it's a miracle. That's not a try, it's a miracle. And then obviously Billy Slater 10 years later in 2004, of course, that try where he intercepted the a kick from his mate Darren Lockyer, then kicked it over the top of I think it was Anthony Minicello, and then grabbing it and scoring the try to make the fans at Suncorp Stadium just go ballistic. And even was said years later afterwards by Lockyer, he said, I didn't get a ticker tape reception because of that, which was freaking funny. That story that he said, I didn't get I didn't get a ticker tape reception for that, but Billy did for that try. So yeah, and of course the NRL, of course the most notable try in the last 10-15 years was that famous Ben Barber try where he was basically in his own goal line. This was Benny Barber back when he was at the where he was killing it at the Bulldogs. I think it was against the Storm too, where he got the ball and it was on the edge of the dead ball line. He picked it up and he ran 100 meters and scored a try. One of the greatest tries the NRL has ever seen. Well, until now, at least. I mean, is it the greatest try in history of rugby league in this country? 50-50 on it. In terms of NRL, surely it has to. I mean, look at it this way. You had the Storm trailing by 2 with 30 seconds left in there, an opportunity to score the winning try, and then of course the dive, and of course the tight thing it was who's gonna win, what was gonna win the race, him planting the ball down or his left arm being over the sideline, that sort of suspense, and then eventually eventually it was given, obviously, and then obviously led to getting that win. It was unbelievable, and those sort of tries can really, that sort of match-winning try could really build up a team's morale. That could also be an important try as well. I mean, if they somehow just ends up, if they for example, if they finish second and they have a points differential of 2, or of 2 over the team that's in third, for example, and Storm finishing second, that will be the difference, either between getting top 4, getting the double chance or not, or at least getting a couple of home finals at the end of the season. That is the difference here. So on that front, so yeah, that was the bigger difference, really, and I think that for me, it's gonna be great, and from then on, this is gonna be try of the year. I dare you all that are NRL fans for the rest of the year to find me a better try than this. I know I'm saying this because it's my Melbourne Storm fan bias, but you can't beat it. You just can't. You just cannot beat a match-winning acrobatic try with 30 seconds left to win the game for your club. You just can't beat that for try of the year. Let's put it that way. They might as well just give him the Dally M try of the year right now. Let's put it that way. We'll go a long way in 2024 to see a better try on that. Let's put it that way. Moving on to injuries, there's a hell of a lot of them on both accounts for the AFL and the NRL, but we'll get to the AFL first. As you guys noticed in the Adelaide Gold Coast game, Taylor Walker was not playing in that game. He had back spasms late in the week before the game up on the Gold Coast, but he pulled out of that. The club is confident he'll be available for the game, as I'm recording this, tonight against Geelong over at the Adelaide Oval. So yeah. Several of injuries to report out of Brisbane. Connor McKenna, unfortunately, Connor McKenna, sadly, he, who was just coming off of a 3-week injury pre-season, and for his first game back for the year, he suffered yet another hamstring injury, and is going to be out, and is going to be out for the next 4 weeks. 4 weeks with that, which is a bit of a shame, really, for the former Bomber. And then just to add salt into the wounds in the defensive unit for Brisbane, Darcy Gardner, who recently has just been playing more of a swing man, to be honest. It was confirmed by Chris Fagan in his post-match press conference that he has suffered a PCL injury, and there's currently no timeline in when he's going to return. But yeah, that was that, and of course, Lachie Neale, of course, he missed the clash, obviously, with Freo with a hamstring injury, but he will be available to play in the grand final rematch against Collingwood after their bye. The only injury to report out of the Blues, obviously, is that, and it's good news, obviously, that Jack Martin, after their round 2 bye, will return. Is set to return from a knee injury, which will be a big boost to the Blues forward line, and then to add some more spark into their forward line. One injury to report out of Collingwood, which is Tom Mitchell, which he did return for Spud's game, last night. It was after he was managed for the game against Sydney due to a ankle issue where he's had since the Community Series game against Richmond, which was a few weeks ago. So yeah. And also, before we move on that front, also back on the Collingwood situation here real quick, the most worrying sign is what's out there on the park. That's their best 22 mostly. If I look at their injury list here, the only one who I can consider to be in their best 22, the only two there's on their injury list that consider to be their best 22 is Dan McStay and Nathan Murphy. That's it. They're the only ones who I believe they will be in their best 22. The others in Kruger, Ira, and Di Matta, they're more VFL players, to be honest. It doesn't hurt them in a lot of ways. McStay and Murphy do. That team that is out there, that is out there. The likes of Pendlebury, likes of Moore, Howe, Maynard, Pendlebury, Sidebottom, the Dacos boys, Cox, all of that. They're out there, and yet they're 0-2. Well, I should say 0-3, but I'll get to the next step. But I'll get to that in the next episode. That is also alarming. It's mostly their best 22 that's out on the park, yet they're winless, to be honest. But yeah. But moving on, a couple of injuries to report out of my boys at the Essendon Football Club. The big news is that Darcy Parish will be set to return for the match again on Saturday night against Sydney, after him suffering a hamstring injury, which kept him out of the game against Hawthorn. And then speaking of the game against Hawthorn, Zach Reid has just had the most awful luck and suffered yet another hamstring strain during the game against the Hawks, and is set to miss 4 to 6 weeks. It's set to miss 4 to 6 weeks because obviously he has had a history of hamstring strains in the past. Moving on to Fremantle, who, despite their big win over Brisbane, they had a massive amount of injury, which have a massive injury list, by the way, which I'll get to in a bit. You had of course, Oscar McDonald suffering a very bad knee injury. It suffered a very bad knee injury. He's going to be set for a very long stint on the sidelines. We still don't know what the timeline for him to return will be. We'll find it out soon. We'll find that out soon. Of course, Brennan Cox. Of course, on this Tuesday, as we're recording this on Tuesday, he underwent surgery on a high-grade hamstring injury, which some people, I remember some people have said that it's more of an injury where you see downhill skiers do it, where they tear the hamstring off the bone. That's what happened with Brennan Cox, and he's set to miss a very long period. It says here 12 to 14 weeks, to be honest. So it's going to be a long period out of the game, really, for Brennan Cox. And then Carl Warner. He suffered a very nasty head knock, and he had to be carried off on a stretcher on the cart. It was that bad. now he's going to be under the AFL's 12-day concussion protocol. So basically, he's going to be missing this week there as well. Moving on to the Catters over at the Cattery. Jack Bowes obviously he's already been ruled out for the match tonight against Adelaide with a calf injury. That's the only thing to report out of the Cats. Good news. All news is good news on the front for the Gold Coast after their 2-0 start to the year, and it gets even better that their two draftees they got in the draft in Jed Walter and Jake Rogers, who had collarbone and back injuries respectively, are both free to be selected for this week. The way that the Gold Coast are playing, I wonder if they're gonna maybe spend like a week or two in the VFL. Maybe because I think the VFL starts up this weekend, and it start there, and then eventually, maybe Dimmer puts them in. And also, in other news as well, their defender Alex Davies is also free to be selected after recovering from a hamstring injury as well. Moving on to Melbourne, you got, of course, you got Charlie Spargo. The only main injury concern there was small forward Charlie Spargo. He after the round 0 game against Sydney, he experienced some soreness in his Achilles. There's still no timeline for him into when he will return. There's awful news and good news on the North Melbourne front in terms of injuries. I mean, you got, of course, the good news is being that the co-captains in Jai Simpkin and Luke McDonald will both return. Of course, obviously, Jai Simpkin from concussion, and I think it said here in terms of North Melbourne. Here we go. So, of course, and then Luke McDonald with a hamstring injury. But the bad news is, though, that the Kangaroos are already down on defenders and enough before the GWS game, and they're down even more because their young defender in Josh Goda suffered a bad Achilles injury. Which was very innocuous. It looked like that he just went to take off and he just collapsed. And the way he was holding, I thought, oh shit, he's broken his leg here. I thought it was a broken leg. The way he was holding. Let me take it back for a second. The way he was holding it like this, I thought he'd broken his leg. But in actual fact, that he had injured his Achilles, and we all know with Achilles. If you're doing Achilles, that's your season done. So that's him gone after one game, which is very much a shame, really, for Josh Goda and for the Kangaroos. Port Adelaide, the only injury report is Jed McEntee suffering a heavy knock in the game against West Coast. He's also been placed in the AFL's 12-day concussion protocol, so he's going to miss this weekend. Obviously, a lot of injuries to report on the Tigers front. Dion Prestia, of course, suffering yet another hamstring injury, another soft tissue injury. How many soft tissue injuries can one man take in a career? Let's put it that way. And is currently, because of his history with soft tissue injuries, there's no timeline into when he will into when he will return. And speaking of 12-day concussion protocols, young defender Tyler Young is also going to be placed on those protocols after suffering a innocuous head knock when he head hit the ground and got concussed. On that front, for Spud's game, which was last night. Of course, Jack Sinclair would return from a calf injury. And then move it finally on the West Coast, where of course sadly their key forward in Oscar Allen, of course, one of their shining lights in their awful season last year. He underwent scans on Tuesday that revealed some bone stress after knee swelling, which that happened days after the Eagles lost the Port. The club will monitor the issue before the timeline for a return will be confirmed. So it looks like we'll see a long stay on the sidelines for Oscar Allen on that front. So yeah, and a lot of injuries to report out of the NRL as well. Of course, the big one being that big Broncos prop in Payne Haas was ruled out of the grand final rematch with Penrith due to a knee complaint. And to make matters worse, also at the same time as well, it was announced that Broncos captain Adam Reynolds would be on the sidelines indefinitely after re-aggravating a knee injury which was suffered in the match against the Roosters over at Las Vegas. So we all thought that basically all that sort of break between the Vegas game and of course, and of course their round 2 game hopefully was enough for him to fully recover from that knee injury. Apparently didn't, and he's going to be out of action indefinitely. In others, the Cowboys back row in Helium Lukey suffered an ankle injury during the game against here we go. Let me just try against the Knights, during the game against the Knights, and he and it looks like if I try and find it, here we go. So and it looks like that will be at the time as I was doing the notes for this, it hadn't been confirmed yet, but that he's scheduled to return in round 9, so missing about 6 to 7 weeks, I must guess. So that is pretty tough going for him, which that requires surgery on. Big news on the Melbourne Storm front in terms for star 5'8" Cameron Munster. He is in line to return from a groin injury after Melbourne's first bye for the season, and his return will be at round 5 against Brisbane. And he won't be the one that will be returning returning in that game against Brisbane. And that is one big Nelson Asafa-Solomona. He's going to be back. He's gonna be here to destroy everything. Let's put it that way. So he's eyeing off a return because he suffered a hamstring injury. That's why he hasn't been playing the last couple of games. So I think that he is obviously in line to return. So what big acquisitions you got? Asafa-Solomona and Munster being back in the side for round 5. So that's going to be pretty good going there. For the Raiders, good news for them with their captain Elliot Whitehead returning for the match against the Warriors with returning from a calf injury. Even better news for the West Tigers because their new recruit Justin Olam, I'm still heartbroken over the fact he's left the Melbourne Storm. Will be making his West Tigers debut after overcoming a knee issue that had plagued him throughout the pre-season. But on a more unfortunate front, Tigers back in Startoa had suffered an ankle injury during their loss to the Raiders, and which that would require surgery. I'm going to look at here to see if it's confirmed what. So apparently the confirmed date to return is going to be returned is round 11. So that is a 9-week injury. Which is going to be, not going to be good for them in a lot of ways. For the Bulldogs, they're propping Prusa Valley or whatever. Fasaoui. I've just butchered that name. I'm sorry. Storm forward Christian Walsh. Dragons Ray Jacob Liddell. Roosters playmaker Luke Keeley and Parramatta Eels' Bailey Simonson are all going to be entering the NRL's concussion protocol. So that means they're all going to miss those games that their teams will play this week because of those concussion protocols. Moving on to the suspensions, there was a fair few of them throughout the AFL and the NRL. So we'll go to the AFL first. The Bulldogs recruit James Harms was suspended for one match for headbutting former teammate Stephen May, which was not surprising in a way. And not the last headbutting incident out of that weekend. We'll get to that in a sec. Essendon defender Mason Redmond who was suspended for one match for striking Jai Newcomb. I get what people are saying about them running this one to George Hewitt, where he got off, but he got off, and obviously Redmond has got 1 week, and Essendon haven't, challenged it. But the difference is, though, a couple of differences I noticed was Hewitt went with the one fist, Redmond went with the two. And it looked like to me that Hewitt had less intent to do this, do the punch action to me, while Redmond, it looked like to me, and I think it's a blessing in disguise, because for me, Redmond had a terrible game last weekend. To be honest, I'm sorry, he had a terrible game, and I think it's probably best for us to probably hear that he would miss this game. And of course, Suns live wire in Malcolm Rosas. He also is suspended for one match, also for headbutting Crows defender Max Michelini during the game against the Crows over on the coast. So a fair few suspensions came out of that. For the NRL wise, Dragons Francis Model is suspended for one match for a grade 2 careless tackle. Then the most controversial suspension from the NRL this weekend. It was Melbourne Storm's Jerome Hughes, halfback Jerome Hughes, has been suspended for one match for grade 2 contractory conduct. In other words, he unfortunately made contact with a ref and with the referee, and got him suspended, which caused a bit of a controversy. But I looked at the incident again several times, and I thought, yeah, I do get why you'll get one match for it, to be honest. And then of course you got the Sharks. Then you got Britton Nikora from the Cronulla Sharks. He was suspended for 2 matches for a grade 2 careless high tackle. as well. So plenty of suspensions on that front for the AFL and NRL to deal with. One last thing to talk about before I get out of here is quite obviously the AFL breaking its all-time crowd attendance record in round one with 405, which is quite outrageous. Let's put it that way. I mean, and also the fun fact as well, in the top 5 most attended rounds of all time for the AFL, basically in the AFL era, in the top 5, 3 of them are from round 1. I mean, you have of course this year, of course, with 413,000. You have round 1 2017 that had had just under 400,500 in the attendance, and then of course round 1 last year where it had 392,000 people. So yeah, and it's just another indication that footy's back. Footy, after the struggling initial 3 years of the pandemic, in recent years, in the last 12 months, that footy is back. Well, the last 12 to 18 months, the footy is back with big crowds, and I believe it's just and the crowd's just going to go up and up and up and up for sure. But the one thing for sure I was disappointed about, I did get why there was a small crowd at the Gold Coast Adelaide game, because it was basically wet conditions. I mean, why would you want a full house but basically experiencing the wet conditions? But I was a bit disappointed in the crowd for the GWS North Melbourne game. Like, they bet Collingwood in front of a packed out crowd at Energy Stadium, the reigning premiers, in front of a packed out crowd. That surely would be the catalyst for them having full houses for every game. And of course, also next door as well at the Olympic Stadium, they had the Kiss concert as well. I think they had a concert there. I think it was Kiss as well. I think they mentioned on Fox Footy. Yet they only had 8,000 people. Like, I mean, what the hell? What the hell? I mean, they what more? It's just. I know it's against North Melbourne. I know that, but surely all the Orange Army needs to come out in force to support GWS, because they're more than likely they're the new flag favourites now because of defeating Collingwood, and then obviously both, of course, they got all their players are in career best form right now, and yeah, so yeah, those are the two. As I said, I do get why the Suns Crows game had a low crowd, but there's no excuse for the GWS North Melbourne crowd. Yeah, North Melbourne, yeah, but surely not. But as I said, not good enough, to be honest. But I'm just concerned that with the GWS, if GWS just have a home game every single time that this opening round or round 0 concept is here, it's just gonna, and then basically dwindle numbers throughout the rest of the season. There's just no point, really, to be honest. But yeah, on that front. But it was great to see another record for the AFL broken over the course of the week with the crowd attendance, obviously. They were eyeing on 400,000 people over the course of last weekend. They exceeded that. They did that and exceeded some as well. But yeah, so yeah. So that's just about all from this episode. Of course, tune back in later on. I'm recording this on a Friday, so I think that the Crows Cats game has just started. But also, during this weekend, get hyped, everybody. So, of course, second round of matches for the AFL, third round for the NRL, and also this little thing over in Albert Park called the Australian Formula 1 Grand Prix. I don't know if you've heard of it, but apparently that's on. And I'll be covering that over the course of this weekend. So like this video, share this to anybody who's an AFL fan or an NRL fan. If you're an NRL fan, comment down below. Is there been a better? Do you think that the Xavier Coates try is the best try in the ever seen in the NRL, or is there another try in the NRL? Do you think it would be better? Do you think Benny Barber's try that I mentioned was better, or is there another try? I would love to hear it down in the comments. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labelled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you all later.